Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? I think so. I'm Shari Freeberg, and I'm so happy to welcome you to our first virtual book and author event and happy hour. So hopefully everybody's having a little happy hour as well. As many of you know, the Women's Philanthropy Book and Author event has been an important part of women's programming and part of our calendar year and very dear to my heart. I'm so happy and grateful that COVID can't stop us from at least gathering together virtually to share a good read. Before I introduce our author, allow me to share with you a little bit about Federation's work, especially through this time of COVID. As soon as the pandemic started, the Federation immediately opened up and started working with partner agencies on identifying the new needs that started to come up and started a fundraising campaign to specifically addressing them. We raised over $535,000 so far, and we distributed the money for PPE, sanitizing, filling food pantries, meals for first responders, and so much more. Please watch this very short video that captures exactly what we've done, or at least some of it.
Jewish Federation of Northern New Jersey.
Thank you. As you can see, it is important that we help each other. If you need help, we will help you, and if you can help others, that would be a great thing. So it's important, if you've made your gift this year to Federation, we thank you. And if you'd like to make one, there will be a link to the URL in our chat room. So let me begin. Before I introduce Jane, let me tell you, since this is our first book and author virtual event, let me tell you how it will go. Jane and I will talk a little bit. We have some questions that I will ask her. And if you have any questions or comments that you would like, put it in the chat room and we will get to them at the end. And now I am honored to introduce to you Jane Rosen. Oh my goodness. I apologize. I do not have her bio. Jane Rosen is the author and Huffington Post contributor. She lives in New York City and Fire Island with her husband and 3 daughters. She often takes inspiration from the city she lives in and the people she shares it with. She's the author of a young adult novel, and she is the author of 9 Women, 1 Dress, and we were fortunate to have her at Federation in person as she discussed her book. She is, in addition to writing, she has spent time in film, television, and event production. And now it is my pleasure to welcome Jane Rosen as she discusses Eliza Starts a Rumor. Hi, Jane.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're glad to see you.
That was a beautiful video that you put on.
Thank
And
you.
it's funny because it started out with the same thing that really is the main theme of my book, which is you are not alone. So very appropriate.
Very appropriate. Well, we try to do it right at Federation anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's good. So let me ask you a question. So where do you get your ideas from for your books?
Well, this book, I got the idea at my last talk with you in New Jersey Federation. So that's pretty funny, right?
Yeah, that is
guys we were talking about these mothers groups, and I think it was your daughter who said that, like, she can't believe what goes on in the New Jersey mothers group and how people say whatever they say and as if, no one's going to repeat it. And I literally came home and started writing this book like the next day.
That's very
So
weird.
I thank you all for the idea, and that's where I get my ideas from, anywhere, just here and there and anywhere.
And what kind of writing routine do you have? Do you have a set writing routine that you do your novels with?
Usually, COVID has disrupted it a lot because my house has been so noisy. But mostly I get up early in the morning at like 7-ish, 7, 8, and start writing right away while my head is still clear. And then in the afternoon, I usually do some editing. And I try and stick to that from Monday through Friday as much as I can.
Are you interrupted at home, or is it quiet and peaceful?
It's usually quiet, but COVID's been pretty noisy. Two of my kids adopted dogs. So now 3 dogs and 3 children, and it's a lot.
Your first book was so successful, and I heard it's being made into a Hallmark movie, which is very exciting. Kudos to you. We're happy for you. And I've heard that the second book is much harder than the first. Can you give us your thoughts on that?
Well, even before COVID, the second book felt harder because I think, my first book, it was 9 Women, 1 Dress, and I don't know, the book, but I was writing it and I had no idea it was really going to get published. So you just writing these, maybe your husband will read it, your daughters will read it, your friends. But now that and all the reviews are coming and all of the critiques and everything else, yeah, it's definitely harder.
Yeah. And so originally, it's harder, but you were successful at it too, because it's a great book. It's really very enjoyable, a really good book.
Thank you.
As we will discuss later. So you were originally a screenwriter. Is it the same way to write a novel as it is to screenwrite? Is it similar?
It's to me, it's easier to write a screenplay because it's not, you don't have to worry about every single word. You really just have to worry about the dialogue. You don't go into it's supposed to just be mostly dialogue and small description. But I enjoy the editing of a book much more. It's much more collaborative with one person and a very smart, editors in the publishing world are really intelligent women, mostly women, I guess they're meant to. So the screenwriting is easier to start for me, but the finished product I enjoyed more.
Will you participate in the screenwriting of 9 Women, 1 Dress?
I did not participate.
Okay. Any hints? Any names?
I don't know. I don't know anything. I hate to tell you, I know nothing.
All right.
I'm
so let's
really out of it.
We'll forget about 9 Women, 1 Dress. Concentrate on Eliza.
Okay.
Both women on Eliza Starts a Rumor are of different ages. They come from different backgrounds, different stages of motherhood. Some are single, some are married, young kids, older kids. How did you choose that Gigunda cast of characters?
Well, I kind of based it on my own friendships a little bit, I would say. I'm friends with people that are younger than myself. I'm friends with people that are much older than myself. A lot of that comes from Fire Island, where I live in the summers, where it's a very intergenerational community. And I find that I get a lot out of those relationships, the older and the younger. And I think it's great to be able to hear different perspectives, where in the same time, I think women very much have a similar experience in many ways, which you could see in the stories, So I just wanted to represent the whole gamut of women.
It was nice to see the camaraderie between them and the differences and the samenesses of them.
They're different from each other.
Did you relate to one of the characters over another? or
I mean, I
one?
guess I relate to Eliza the most. She's, close to my age, and she has like a kind of a self-deprecating sense of humor, which I kind of do also. But these women are not really that similar to myself.
Okay, good. You talk a lot about the importance of sisterhood in this book and the roots of it. We all like to proclaim everything has Jewish roots and Jewish origins. Can you trace the concept of sisterhood in Judaism? Is there one?
Oh, I think so. I mean, I always said like the red tent, the menstrual tent, that must have been like the best week of everyone's month, right? Sitting in
Right.
that tent with whoever's all had their periods, right? And I think even like I remember sitting in my mom's sisterhood in the temple when I grew up, and she'd go, to all the meetings. And so Hadassah and UJA and the Federation, those are all forms of sisterhood. So I
Right.
think it's a very Jewish concept, although it's probably everywhere.
Yeah, it's like Hadassah and CJW, every place. Yeah.
Yeah.
A group of women together actually almost becomes a sisterhood. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it's very cool. So there's a lot of talk about mental health in this book regarding
Mhm.
the anxiety that Eliza's suffering, and the agoraphobia that she's having. Now through COVID, we are also kind of feeling that kind of agoraphobia also, in that we don't want to be with everybody else. And do you think that the internet and the after effects of this COVID-19 will spur more of agoraphobia in the world, or you think it's making it a little bit easier because of the internet? We have this relationship, at least via
Yes. The internet's very helpful, right?
right.
I mean, even what we're doing right now wouldn't be possible. But yeah, I mean, I think if you do have agoraphobia, this must be just multiplied tenfold for you. It must be very difficult. But I think everyone could relate to it more. Everyone could understand Eliza a little more, because I don't know about you, but when I go outside and I'm near other people, it's as if, they're going to kill me. I have to stay away from everybody. I have different fears than I ever had, so I think that you could relate to her, and I think that she wouldn't be doing so great right now. I think it would be hard.
Right. And there is a lot of talk in the book about mental health, and through therapy, one person helps the other one with their dilemma in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Go about researching all these topics. I don't want to give too much away on the book for those people that didn't read it, but Eliza suffers from therapy, and the
I
therapy.
think that, yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Sorry.
No,
You go.
my dog was just making a lot of noise. Distract. Say hello to Priscilla, everybody. It's
Hi,
National Dog Day. I think that one of the points of the book is that getting help is very necessary, and there's support out there. And, I think like Amanda's situation in the book, there's 4 main women. I think if she didn't get the help that she got, I don't think she would have been able to move on with her life. And I
Right.
think, the same with Eliza later on, you find out. So I think that help is out there, and I think that problems don't just go away. They snowball and get worse. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I broached those kind of topics, and I did a lot of research in them. And hopefully it helps some women that are maybe reading the book and think, wow, I should really go talk to somebody.
Yeah. So now I heard that you're now an empty nester as well. And do you think Eliza's actions of posting that rumor came in part of being alone as an empty nester? How do you feel about it? I know it's relative.
Yeah, it's soon. I mean, it just really is going on right now, but I could see it. I could see it even in myself when I had like my second book coming out and things were a little hairy. I think that everybody's in a big, like, a conundrum of what to do next once your children leave, because it's bizarre. You're a mom, and then you literally go to sleep and wake up and there's no one home, and there's no one to cook for, there's no one to clean for, and it's pretty crazy. It's 27 years I've been a mom, taking care of 3 kids. So I think for her, definitely, I think it just raised the stakes on everything that she was worried about.
Right. I agree.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult situation to be alone by yourself for a while, even with your
Right.
husband.
Yeah,
Difficult.
but there's stuff do. I mean, obviously, I wrote my first book at 50, so this is kind of my second act, let's say.
Right.
But
Right.
it doesn't have to be as big as that. There's plenty of things to do. I mean, look at all the stuff that you're doing that you just showed in that video. I mean, you could just volunteering is an amazing thing.
Correct.
Time.
Another thing to do, I guess, through COVID and through everything is to volunteer.
Right.
That helps the empty nesters to do something.
Yes, absolutely.
Ways through Federation that would work, and it's great. There's lots of things.
Definitely.
COVID safe, I would say.
Yeah.
When Olivia's crisis comes to a head, Amanda points out how she still has time for a do-over. Like it's always time to not live through something. How do you think the current Me Too environment is affecting women's choice and actions today?
Well, I hope it affects it in a very positive way. I hope that that young women, especially, or even women that have gone through these things, which many have, don't feel like it's their fault anymore. I hope they can see that that it's not their fault. And I hope that the younger women maybe have a little more strength to stand up for themselves.
Do you think your girls do?
Now, but things have happened with my girls too. I think it's all over the place. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Let's
do a little bit lighter note since we're going too heavy, and the book is not, it's a heavy
book is a lot of fun, by the way.
A lot of fun. So there's a line in the book that reads, while Eliza's mother had no interest in cooking, Eliza, as her booby would say, took to the kitchen like nobody's business. Together, the two of them formed a bond linking generations of Jews, not through the Talmud, but through brisket. Food is very common Jewish theme. Do you feel more attached to your Judaism through Talmud or through brisket?
I told the story the other day that this past Passover, I only wanted to make my mother's Passover cookies. And obviously it was because of being attached to my Judaism, and my mom is not here anymore. And I couldn't find matzah meal, and I went all over the place. It just was, COVID was just starting, and it's New York City, and the ambulances were crazy. And I would wrap myself up like a mummy looking for this matzah meal, couldn't find it. And I bought matzo ball mix, and I made it with the matzo ball mix, and it was actually kind of gross. It had like this horrible aftertaste, but I ate every single cookie. Every cookie, and it wouldn't have been Passover to me if I didn't eat all those cookies. So it's a mixed bag for me. Yes, the food part definitely holds a lot of my culture and Judaism and memories and comfort. The comfort food is Jewish food to me. But also, if I go to synagogue and I hear those old tunes and I sing, a song that, whatever it is, a Don Olam, whatever it is, that really holds a lot for me too. So I'd say I'm 50-50.
50-50.
What about you?
I think food is an important thing. I'm much more of a traditional, I like the traditions of Judaism and the food of Judaism and going to temple, but I do think that the kids remember the food and remember being together as a family and the prayers, but I think it's a mixture of both. I agree with you. It's 50-50. Yeah. Some months, some years 40-60, some years it just depends what we're eating and how the brisket came out that year. But right. I do think food has a lot to do with it, and the tradition of being together and going to temple. You're right. I love hearing the old melodies because it reminds me of my childhood and my parents. Yeah. And that's nice. Sometimes you have a new rabbi with new. Right. And they're wonderful. Get used to them, but they don't remind you of home.
It's
right?
True.
Yeah. You had mentioned 4 women in the book, or 4 women in the book, and they all seem to be very strong women. I mean, they go through surus and they go through lots of angst in their life, but they really do come out much stronger. Was that something that you put in on purpose? I mean, the strength was definitely.
I mean, I wanted everyone. I know people love to read books where everyone doesn't turn out okay, but I have a tendency to make everyone turn out okay. So I like to show that you could get through things, and everybody goes through different things in life. No one gets through unscathed. Right. So you have to find your strength to get through whatever's thrown your way.
So the social media moms group, do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea? And do you get strength from that, or do you find a little bit faults in yourself because everybody seems to have a perfect life or something? So
I think it's good and bad, but I think if I had to pick from good or bad, I would say good. I think sometimes on the bad side, like the Chappaqua Moms was just shut down during COVID because of infighting about COVID, actually.
really?
Yeah. So I think, and sometimes people could get a little vicious. I think sometimes on anything online, people could say things that maybe they would never say in person, you know, and I think that's tough and people are misunderstood. But on the other side, it's really great. Like I've seen amazing things happen because I've obviously studied these groups a lot when I was writing this book. And I saw someone go to someone's daughter got in a car accident, like in North Dakota, and they were in New York, and they actually found another mom from North Dakota that went and sat with the girl in the emergency room from an online group. Yeah. And then I've seen on the Upper East Side group, I always talk about this, there was like a little boy lost his whoopee, his blankie, between like 96th Street and 65th Street, and the mother posted it, and everybody went outside and looked, and they had the kid's blankie back by dinner time. So there are some good things, you know, I mean, and it's also, I don't know about you, but I love I love getting a million people's opinion on something, and to get it all in one place like that, it's pretty cool, you know, like, I don't know, what color to paint my wall or what to name my baby or something like that, you know, just having 200 women chime in, that's kind of fun, right?
Yeah, kind of fun.
Yeah.
So near the end of the book, Eliza's mother, Bertie, guiltily apologizes for never calling her pretty as a child. Do you understand her guilt, and do you think it's valid?
Well, I mean, aren't you guilty about some things? Is your daughter on this chat? I mean, I think everyone's
Yes, I'm definitely about a lot of things.
right. So am I. I mean, maybe they're ridiculous. I brought something up recently to my youngest, and she was like, I never knew that. Like, I never even felt that. So it's funny. It's something I've been carrying guilt about forever. She wasn't even aware of. But Bertie should have been a little bit guilty, I think. I think that she didn't, I think that she didn't understand that you have a daughter, and your daughter may not be this carbon copy of you and this reflection of yourself. And I have 3 daughters, and I'm well aware that they're not, you know, a carbon copy of me, and I let them be who they are. But I think Bertie had some issues with that. With herself. Yeah, she only had the one child.
Is one of your daughters more like you than the others? No names necessary.
No, I don't know. I'd have to ask my husband that. I don't know. Yes, he says yes, but I don't even know which one it is. He's in the room. I think that there's parts of them that are like me, but they're very, you know, they're their own people.
I think parents are there to build up their children, to give them that strength and that self, whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called now. Oh my goodness.
Self-worth. I think yeah, but I mean,
intelligent or happy or artistic or anything. Just, you know, to build them up.
Yeah, I agree. But then there's times when you make a mistake. I mean, I remember one of my kids when they were like broken out. They came home and I said, like, I looked at them and they're like, "You're only looking at my pimples." And I was like, "No, I'm not." But you know, I kind of was looking at it. Like, it's just crazy. Just, you know, I don't know. It's hard being a mom.
It is hard. Last week I was at the beach with my grandson collecting shells, and one shell was not it was broken, and I said, "It's not perfect. We throw it away." And then I said, the next day I said, that was like the wrong thing to say, because nothing is perfect. I should have said it was broken and we throw it away. I don't even know if that's politically correct, but I said it wasn't perfect. So now I know better. So the next time I'm going to say it's broken.
Now you have grandma guilt, not just mother guilt.
I know, grandmother guilt.
That's terrible. That's what I have to look forward to.
So you started the book, going back to your book, you started the book about, you had a quote from Nora Ephron. It was, above all, I'm going to read it to you, be the heroine of your life, not the victim. And I thought that was appropriate, going through all the things. And how did you remember to use it or think about it, or had you just, Nora Ephron is one of my favorite authors.
It's one of
and
my
she-
favorites too.
But it does, go ahead.
Well, so my first book, it said, I'm going to read it to you. I didn't know this was a thing. Like, it was like a real thing that they ask you.
Right.
Do you want to put a quote at the beginning of the book? So I never even thought of doing that.
You changed the words a little bit, I think, on your quote.
No, I didn't.
No, okay.
You're not allowed to. But
Okay.
so the first book, it says, what is important in a dress is the woman who is wearing it, Yves Saint Laurent.
Remember that too, actually.
So my editor, I had a different editor, and she said, do you want to put a quote? And then I started looking for a quote, and it was great when I found it. I was so excited. So for this book, I on my own, I was like, wow, I should keep an eye out for a quote. And when I came across that Nora Ephron quote, it just reminded me of such an important fact that women have to hold in their hearts and in their minds, just not to be the victim, to be the hero. And that's why I picked it.
Oh, it's a great quote. It's definitely a great quote. It epitomizes what the book is about too, which I really did like. So if there's one message that you hope readers come away with from your book, what would you say would be that one message? Or
I think
two?
it's the same as the video that you posted at the beginning. You're not alone. We are not alone. I think that's really important, just to realize, like, even if it's on a chat on, some mom site, you're not alone, or your good friends, or you only need a few, or federation or anything, you're not alone. It's important.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. What are you reading now? What's one of your favorites, or what
am I reading now? I'm reading a lot of research books now for my next book. That doesn't really count, but I've been reading a ton during COVID. I've been reading more than I've been watching television. I feel like it's more active, and I get like a little ADD with the television. I drift off, and then I have to ask my husband for every detail of everything that happened. I read a great book that most of you would probably really like by Bess Cow called Nobody Will Tell You This But Me. It's excellent, and it's about a Jewish grandmother and her daughter. It's great. I just read The Light We Lost. I'm reading about shoes, a lot about shoes, because my next book is about shoes, and about World War II. I'm reading about that because that's in my next book. A lot. I've read a lot. I can't think of them all. Beach read. I've read some great light reads like Beach Read and Summer Longing and Darling Rose Gold. I've read a ton.
I forgot to ask this question about this book. How did you pick Hudson Valley? I mean, you're Fire Island, you're New York. The last book was definitely New York. How did you pick that?
It's funny. When I first started writing the book, I called it the Bergen County Ladies Bulletin Board because I got the idea in Jersey.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yes, but
doesn't sound.
I'm sorry, but Hudson Valley sounded nicer, and I go up to Hudson Valley and rent this house on a few different Christmas vacations, and I fell so in love with the house. It's actually Olivia's house in the book. So, and if everyone would follow, I'm going to post a video of the house soon. If you want to follow me on Jane L. Rosen on Instagram, I did a really cute little video of the house so you could see what the house looks like. Olivia's house.
We'll put that in when we send a thank you note to everybody.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. So so the Hudson Valley, have you been up there? It's just beautiful. Yeah. And I thought it would be, I didn't want it to be like a true suburb of New York City. I wanted it to be like a little further out to really give, like Allison in the book, the incentive to move out of the city and find something really special. So that was part of it too.
Okay. And your next book, you're giving us any hints? We know it's about shoes.
It's shoes. That's all the hints I'm going to give you.
Pumps,
it'll be coming out next summer, not this summer, next summer.
How long does it take you to do the research till you go from the thought process to actually writing it down and becoming a book?
I think that it's hard to say. I mean, the next book with the World War II stuff, a lot of it is the story of my dad's story in World War II. So that research is not as much as it would be for someone else because I have like letters from him, things like that. So I think like the first draft takes me like 6-7 months, and then there's a lot of editing.
Good. I mean, it was very enjoyable, and it's very enjoyable to talk to you as well. It's really very, very nice. I'm going to see if there are any questions that I've missed, if there are any in our chat room. I'm not a techie, so it takes a little bit longer.
Take your time.
I think there is not. I think everybody says that there were no questions. So I do
That's okay.
And we're looking forward to having you a third time with Better Race.
Yay, can't wait.
By the time it's done, we will be able to be
in person.
Home and
I hope so.
Each other. I hope so as well. So I do thank you so very much. Don't go away yet because we want to.
Oh, I see a question. Did I write as a child?
Oh, okay. Good question.
Should I answer that?
Should definitely answer.
Okay, so as a child, it's interesting, and then everyone could go. As a child, I did write a lot, and in the 6th grade, my teacher was very into writing, and he would take my short stories and send me around the school to the other teachers to read them. But then somehow I lost my way by college, I wanted to be in the garment center. So I stopped writing. And then when I had children, I started writing again. So I guess the basic for this is if your kid's a good writer, encourage it.
And you started to write, you did write a teen book called The Thread.
Yes, I self-published it.
I have you?
I self-published it. I wrote it. It was like the age of my girls, or 2 of my girls at the time, and we did the cover together. It was just like a fun project. But yeah, I did.
Okay. Somebody asked me to ask you, can you discuss your writing process? I think that you did mention that a little bit, but maybe you can go a little bit more in depth.
Well, in terms of like the writing process, so I get an idea and I let it like sit with in my brain, and I think about it a lot. And then when I really think I have the full concept, I write, what are they called? Those cards?
The index cards?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Index cards. I've been on the beach too long.
We're even, yeah.
I write out index cards with the entire story, how it's going to go, just to really make sure that I have it all, but then I really never look at it again. And the story takes on a lot of different, things that weren't on the index cards. But another thing I do is when something strikes me as funny in my own head or in the world, I write it in my notes and I try and incorporate, I think a lot when I'm writing about what would this character think is funny. So while my writing is going on, I'm often in the head of one of the characters in my life as I walk around, because I just pick things up.
Do you know how a book is going to end when you start to write it, or does it? Oh, somebody just asked the same question.
Really?
That's so funny. I was just going to ask that question. Yeah. Do you plan your ending beginning?
I would never write a book without knowing how it was going to end. That would make me so nervous. But people do that, and I think like John Irving does that. I just can't imagine. Yes, I know the ending.
You do know the answer.
Yes.
So start at the end and start from the beginning, or do you?
No, 9 Women, 1 Dress. I started at the end because I was told the story of a dress being destroyed or having formaldehyde on it, and I went backwards. This book, I started from the beginning and went to the end.
Great. Just a quick thing that we had discussed before we went on about the dress in 9 Women, 1 Dress.
Oh, right.
Jane was over at Federation discussing 9 Women, 1 Dress, which was also a wonderful book. And it was all about the designer Max Hammer, right?
Max Hammer.
Right. Max Hammer. What was the name? Sorry.
Hammer.
Yeah,
Hammer,
Max Hammer.
which is my mom's maiden name. It's my family name.
Hammer. And in this book, there was also a designer, and I could not remember that you qualitatively
shout out.
Yeah, both designers the same. It was very cool. That was a very nice thing.
You.
And you also said that the investigator in this one
yes.
was the same as that one, which I forgot completely.
Yeah, I don't know if many people caught on to that.
Thread through it. That's the thread comes through it again. You see your lessons right there. Let me see if there's any more questions.
Essentially make all the
women very beautiful.
Do you think all the women are very beautiful?
I didn't get that. I don't think you discuss their looks
I
that
don't,
much.
I know that some people go into great detail about what their characters look like, and I don't. I don't know. I'd love to know what you all think, but I just don't know if you want to know exactly what they look like, or do you want to like have some things in your head that you could, you know, interpret them yourselves and what they look like. But I mean, I guess every woman is beautiful, right?
In the eyes,
way.
right? In the eyes of the. Any ideas of who would portray them in the movie? Because this will become one too.
I hope so. Yes, because I wrote an article on this, so I know exactly who it would be if my, dream would come through. It was Drew Barrymore for Eliza, and Maggie Q for Allison, and January Jones, Betty Draper, Betty Draper from Mad Men. She was Amanda. And who's left? Olivia. I picked Emmy Rossum from Shameless. And for Jackie, I do watch This Is Us. I picked Sterling K. Brown.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Good.
That was.
Now you visualize them. And the person that asked you about all the women being beautiful said that all the men in the book, when they discussed the woman, always said that they were beautiful.
Oh, really?
In the eyes of the beholder as well.
Interesting. Well, does that person think I should talk about what people look like or not?
Okay, well, wait to hear what I know her. She will say something. So let's see. She did not answer yet. Do you have a favorite author?
Yes, John Irving.
Okay. And is that elastic band like a comfort blanket? Somebody asked. I guess you're
Yes?
holding. Are you? Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. I do fidget, but this is actually these bracelets that my friends made me that say all the names of the girls, like Eliza, and Amanda and Allison. So I was wearing them, and of course it's hot, so I pulled them off, and then I played with one.
And when you have them near you, you have to play with them. That's all. That's
right.
All that's necessary.
So.
Yeah. That's it. Wait. Wondered why it was important to comment on their looks at all. I don't know. I think everybody likes to get an idea of what they look like.
I don't know the answer to it. I mean, I think that there's descriptive, like some people go into great lengths to describe what a character looks like. And I try not to, but I don't know. You kind of want to know who you're picturing.
I guess. I think so. If not, you just picture something that could be completely out of your head. I mean, you're visualizing it, right?
Yeah. I also wanted to have the diversity of looks. So I don't know the answer. I don't know what's right or wrong. It shouldn't be important, but in a visual way of visual storytelling, I think it's somewhat important.
All right.
What does it say? A
somebody
physical
says
description
would be helpful if pertinent to the storyline. Okay.
I mean, I had to have, if we really think about this, it was important with Eliza and Amanda to have the physical thing, because you had to see what made Eliza who Eliza is. And part of that was her mom being skinny and blonde, and her neighbor being skinny and blonde, and her not, her being more curly and like me. So I think sometimes that part of it was necessary. Right?
Right. I guess.
Well, yeah.
Sounds like a thought. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that's it. So I thank you, Jane, one more time for an interesting and an entertaining discussion. The book was fabulous, and hearing you share the backstory and your thoughts and putting it together made it so much more interesting for all of us, and learning those small nuances, behind telling the story was definitely 9 Women, 1 Dress, and it was very, very, very very good book to read. It was lots of fun and the stuff. And I must thank you so much, and the best of luck with shoes. We don't know if they're flats or pumps yet.
Every
And
kind of shoe.
before we get off, I have to tell you that
She wants you to know the name of the other book. Nobody will tell you this but me, by Bess Calb.
Bess Calb.
It's a good one. You're welcome.
And I must thank Barbara Joyce, because she's the Women's Philanthropy Director, and without her, this would not happen. And Josh, who's the techie behind this, because without him, this would definitely not happen. And I thank you so much to all of you for coming virtually to this book club and seeing and I hope to see you at next virtual book clubs. And lift your glass. I know it's a little early, but I wanted to wish everybody a happy and a healthy new year. L'chaim.
L'chaim.
And have a great week, and hope to see you at our next events. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Sounded great.